Dear God, we thank you for come to this last week and that we can start to present what we have learned. Lord, I just pray that we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you, uh, each opportunity to learn and also make our best effort to present it. That's how we also can learn more. We pray for today. You'll be with us and we can learn from each other. And this will be a great journey and experience for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's presentations. And so we have, let me see, 7 sharing today. And so about 10 to 12 minutes each group. So all of the topics came directly or indirectly from our reading of Mr. Bowditch, which so many topics in here, right? We even touched upon, as I was thinking, of course, history, math, biology, even those creatures in the ocean, art, physics, navigation, and some astronomy, so many topics. So that's why I thought it would be great for us to investigate a little more deeply different topics. And I hope you'll still use this book as a spring learning various subjects. Okay, we're going to start with William. Okay, so William, his topic is 316 in languages, okay? And the topic came about because, of course, Nat Bowditch used a Bible verse, which was John 1, in different languages. And so I thought we use 16, which is very familiar to all of us. So, okay, go ahead.
All right.
And excuse me, everybody, if I need to interrupt sometimes if the time is a little bit short. Okay.
How to share? Okay.
You see the bottom share screen?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, guys. So today I want to share the John chapter 3:16 in 3 different languages. Yeah, before we share, let me read the content about this verse. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So, so I searched the internet. There's only provide. This is a pronoun in Spanish, but only provide a few words. So, the first one is ukihinito. Ukihinito. Second one is or hey. Okay. The third one is called persica. Persica. There's only 3 words in Spanish. There are no. Here's the whole verse in the bottom. This is literally in the arithmetic. So, in for this language Aramaic, this language used to call the Chaldea, but is now generally known simply as Biblical Aramaic. Oh, what's happening?
You're very small, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I just looks weird.
Yeah, that's okay. I think we have it low. It's okay. Okay, so Aramaic it's related to Hebrew, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Oh yeah. Now it's better. So this is the literary and Africans. Do you guys mm, you guys see that the verse is similar to the English, but the the grammar and the spell it looks it looks weird in African. Yeah. So the country which you speak African is Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe.
Okay. Who's a missionary who found?
Mhm. Oh, I has a pop bro. Oh yeah.
Okay, you know what? Maybe it's okay. For the rest of it, you can just share the content because we have a little
Oh
time
yeah. There we go.
time
Mm.
lunch here.
And also there's a many country like the Eastern Asia. They speak Aramaic. So I just speak out the famous country that you guys know is Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and the South Central Turkey. So the people, the preacher who have a missionary in Iraq, which is the Aramaic speaker, is called George Percy Benjer. So here is the uh, biography, but I only share the important sentence that he preached in his country. Thereafter, he transferred to Aden, where he cheerfully resided during the remainder of the team was serving his safe as a staff champion Arabic interpreter to the force in uh, in the Arago-Persian War. Okay. So here's what I found.
Okay, maybe you can tell us about the missionary to Africa
Yeah,
nations.
the missionary of African. Do you know, guys? Hold on. It's called a Corowana. I'm not sure the name. I have to go back to look.
Oh, okay. Just we have about 3 more minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's Botswana. Botswana. They also have the missionary. In Barcelona. This guy is called David Livingstone. So in the website we don't have much uh, information about this preacher, but just you guys realize he has the missionary in Botswana. Okay, so okay.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you for watching.
Thank you. Okay, actually, that's what I meant to mention. When any group is done, I would like everyone to unmute yourselves and give the person a. It's just encouraging that way. So I hope you will. Thank you very much, William. Actually, David Livingston is very famous. He was a medical missionary. He went to Africa to look for the source of the Nile River, and he's famous for the line from someone who went to heaven said,
Okay.
Livingston, I presume. Okay, so kind of so. But he is relatively well known, actually. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
so our next group is Joy and Chloe. Okay, so they're also taking John 3:16, but they're doing in different languages. So, okay.
So the first one is Chloe. Is she here?
Is Chloe here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go ahead.
The Spanish version of the verse is Porque del tamanero amo Dios al mundo que ha dado a su Hijo unigénito para que todo aquel que en él cree no se pierda, mas tenga vida eterna. My missionary is Junipero Serra. He was born and baptized on November 24th, 1713, on the Spanish island of Majorca. Junipero Serra started out a student and a professor of theology. He was then known for his teaching in Palma until he was 35 years old when he heard about the missionary work of Saint Francis Solano in South America. Junipero gave up his career of being an educator and preaching to approach his desire of converting native peoples in the New World. Arriving by ship at Veracruz, Mexico, he and a companion walked 250 miles to Mexico City, where he on the way suffered from a permanent leg injury. For 18 years, he worked in Central America and Baja Peninsula, where he then became president of missions there. After working to spread the word of God in Mexico in the 1750s and 1760s, he moved to present-day California. Serra established 9 missions there from 1769 to 1782, and on August 28, 1784, Serra died at the age of 70 at a mission in San Carlos, which is one of the missions he founded and eventually where he was buried.
Okay, thank you.
Miranda. Does she read it or?
Oh yes. So is here today? Okay. If Miranda is not here, then Joy, just go on to. You could read it in English and then read it in Chinese for us.
I saw Miranda earlier.
Oh, is Miranda here? Is Miranda? Are you here this morning? Okay, I don't see her now. Okay, so Joy, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. So in Chinese, I'm just gonna say, 神爱世人，甚至将他的独生子赐给我们，叫一切信他的不至灭亡，反得永生。This is my Elijah Coleman Bridgman.
He was the first American missionary appointed to go to China to spread the word of God. He served with the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions. He was born on April 22nd, 1801 at Massachusetts, Town, and he and some other missionaries arrived at Canton on February 19th, 1830, and he studied Chinese and began preaching. He started at Guangdong and then went to Macau and lastly Shanghai, when he died. In 1845, he married Lisa Jin Garrett, an American establishing missionary. After Elijah died, Lisa started the Bridgman Academy. In 1834, she became the first joint secretary of society for the diffusion of useful knowledge. Then she founded the Medicine Education Society, and she was the president for many years. And he was active in organizing the Medical Missionary Society in China in 1838. Bridgman assisted a translator and advisor from 1842 to 1844. And finally, shortly after baptizing his first convert, he moved to Shanghai in 1847, where he primarily occupied Bible translation, and his version appeared shortly after his death, which means that the Chinese version came out after he died. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Yeah, it's interesting. After you chose this missionary, I hadn't heard of him, and I looked him up. He was actually the first person to learn, American actually, to learn a lot about China. So he's considered the first China expert, and because of his knowledge of the language and the country, he helped to negotiate a treaty. So between the two countries, America and China, and he wrote the first history book of the United States in the Chinese language. So actually, I had never heard of him before. It's very interesting. Okay, thank you very much, Joy and Chloe. And also, you could realize how difficult it was for Nat Bowditch to translate his Bible verse, which was, the Bible verse he focused on, John 1:1, how difficult it was, or how much work it was for him to translate and to understand the verse when he didn't know any language. And then he went on to learn the entire, I guess nobody who can say they can learn an entire language, but enough to read Newton's Principia, right? Okay, all right, so thank you very much. Let me see here. So we're going to go on now to Elijah and Jeffrey. Okay, so Elijah and Jeffrey can tell us about your topic.
Our topic is about the political situation in America after the Revolutionary War. Is the slideshow on right now?
Yeah, you have to hit view and present. Yeah, it's fine. Good.
Okay, so our topic is about the political situation of America after the Revolutionary War. It's about how America as a nation had managed its political affairs and how the country, the status of the country as a political entity. So one of the big parts of the American politics after the Revolutionary War was the Articles of Confederation. It was one of the first legislative documents to discuss the political organization of the country. So basically, it says that there will be a weak central government ruling all of the states. The states had much more power, but this was a failure because it gave the states too much power, and it made a lot of division between them. And another part of the political situation in America after the Revolutionary War was instability, because in the United States, there was very different interests for the there were very different interests in the states. Um, they they had separate governments, they had separate currencies, and they have separate identities, which was really like points of conflict between the states. And yeah, some like they had conflicts because well, one conflict was between New York and New Jersey, and that was about Staten Island. So New Jersey claimed Staten Island, but New York also claimed it. That led to like a conflict between them, but New York eventually got the islands. Yeah, relating to the last slide, there was a lot of conflict in the states. Slavery was one of them. Yeah. Okay. The Constitution was the successor of the Articles of Confederation. It was signed in 1878 and signed in 1787. 1787. It was signed in Philadelphia, and it was a government. It was the governing legislative document in America currently. It established the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and set the premises of the government, the United States. And lastly, we have the quasi-war. It was a war. It was an undeclared naval war. So there was no formal declaration of war between the United States and France. It was a conflict between Britain and France, and the United States found itself on the side of Britain, and France was very mad about that, and they started seizing the American ships. And we can actually relate this to the book, Nathaniel Baldwich's book, because it was referenced in the book. And yeah, there was conflict. There was war between the United States and France. And the conclusion was unstable but promising. The political situation was unstable, and it was like not a very good, was not very concrete, but it was certainly promising, and it was the foundation of government. in the United States. And
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Elijah. Okay, Elijah is going to share now.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so it's your turn to share your part of the project. Everybody
What?
has half and half. That's what I had mentioned the other day,
Yeah,
right? Everybody does half or
Jeffrey did half of the slides and I did the other half.
Okay, so can you speak about your half of the slides?
Okay.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Very, very informative. Maybe you can add something that Jeffrey didn't speak about.
But like he kind of said everything about the slides.
So what you researched were the last few slides, right? As far as I understand.
Yeah,
So
it
can you
was
say a
the
little
Constitution and down.
Okay, can you say a little bit more about that? You could open the slides if you want. I hope I made it clear that it's everybody has to do a part of the every person has to say a part. Okay, go ahead.
For the quasi-war, it grew out to the XYZ affair and ended with the French politics.
Can you explain about the XYZ?
Which, so So the XYZ affair was a diplomatic incident between French and the United States diplomats. It resulted in an undeclared war, which was known as the Quasi-War, which was one of our slides.
Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, let me see. All right. Well, why were the states afraid of a strong central government? Maybe Elijah, you could answer that, since Jeffrey spoke quite a bit. In your opinion, maybe it's not like officially or something, but why were the states afraid of a strong central government?
I think it was because since like Great Britain had ruled over them, like they were afraid that America would turn into the same outcome they had to.
Okay, yes. So when George Washington became president, right, there was a little fear. Was he going to become like a king?
Yeah.
He didn't want that title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Okay. Is there something about this project that you learned that was new to you?
I learned a little more about the Quasi-War because I only learned about XYZ affairs in school.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, yeah, I had not heard about that Quasi-War either. But okay, well, thank you very much, both you, Elijah and Jeffrey, and thank you for this wonderful slides. And by the way, the three-branch government, some of you might know if you attend the morning devotions. Where does that idea come from? Where does that come from?
Isaiah something.
From Isaiah, right. Okay, Isaiah 33:22. And also, I was reading about this from, it also is based on Jeremiah 17:9, which is surprising. It's just, I mean, the way the government was set up, which the verse says man's heart is wicked, so we have to have that the checks and balances, and the problem is when it gets out of balance, right? So, okay, so yeah, so we might not know that after the American Revolution, actually, it's not like everything was settled. It was just the beginning, and a lot of things had to be worked out. But it was still worth it, right? But it took a lot of effort, and maybe a lot of times many people thought, well, this American experiment is gonna work. But yeah, so as Jeffrey mentioned, the conflicts were referred to in the book, and the conflicts between still there, the naval conflicts. Okay, thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Please unmute. And it's just encouraging, right? If you do something and put an effort in people. Thank you, Jordan. I guess you represent me. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this is okay, good, very good. All right, so Michelle and Priscilla are going to present now. Lucy, is there a way for, I don't know if does everybody see, I would like the speaker to be on the pin video.
Oh, I'll make the Lucy a co-host so she can do that.
I really am always in spotlight though.
Okay. Because, I mean, it's fine. I mean, right now I see William, which is fine, but.
Yeah, if someone shares their screen, then they automatically become the spotlight.
Okay.
So Lucy, you're the co-host, so you can adjust it. You can, right?
Okay.
Wow, this is great. I love this opening slide here. Yes.
Wait, I forgot to mute my mic. I'm sorry. Oops.
Yeah, on my screen I see William. Now, okay, I see the screen. Okay.
Okay, we are going to talk about daily life in early America. Wait, what?
Oh, I think it's
Wait,
like this because you're on the iPad. No, it's not like this because it's on the iPad for you. So do you want me to share screen?
Oh, okay.
I just want to make sure, Michelle, did you see my comment on your second picture?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just mention that's it.
Okay. You could stop share screen. Yeah. Okay. Wait.
William, maybe is William sharing his screen? It seems like he's always mic in the video.
Can everyone see like this? Okay. So this is daily life in early America.
Oh, it looks
Michelle.
weird on my iPad. Wait, the explanation is cut off.
It's okay. We can see the picture. That's fine.
Then how do I explain the drawings? Maybe I can read on my iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on. Okay. This illustration illustrates the house interior during early America. The old-fashioned living room with elegant furniture filled with rusty outdoor, avocado of grandparents' houses. The wooden roof lamp is hung from the ceiling to light up the dim living room. There's two contrasting curtains, a tea table, and comfortable vintage armchairs set on a white rug. A small gray sculpture set on top a wooden table. On one side of the walls hang a portrait of venerable clergyman. There's a metal-made chair set in the corner to watch the vista of an avenue of black ash trees. Next slide. This illustration titled New Farm Worker portrays the applications of agricultural workers during early America. After many whites immigrated to the United States from European countries during the period of European immigration, working in farmland became a popular job for immigrants because it makes people hardworking by achieving multiple tasks and goals instead of day-to-day food survival.
Okay, can you explain the note that was that I made in your, what you want me to say? That actually, maybe I had not been clear in my description of the project. Early America, I meant the time period Nat Bowditch lived. So of course the cars didn't come along until the 1920s,
Yeah.
and the ladies would not have worn pants at the time. So this is a little bit later. It's early in some sense, but okay. But otherwise, it's a beautiful artwork, Michelle. Okay, you could continue.
Okay. So this drawing shows female dresses in 18th century. Most women during the colonial times wore very similar clothing items. The material used, quality, and decoration of the clothing varied depending on the woman's wealth of work. Women of all social classes had to pick and change dresses every day. Some women would suit dress quality and decoration of the home as a housewife. Their hairstyles also were suited for cooking and doing housework. Women also wore hair bodices to keep their hair neat and tidy. On the other hand, girls wore similar clothes to their parents. Middle and high-class boys often wore what their parents usually wore. Their clothing were old and used from their older siblings. Both baby and toddler boys would wear gowns or shifts. They often wore knee breeches and tailcloths with high socks and short pants. During the 18th century, not many boys could afford to go to school. Due to poverty, they had to work with their parents, which explains the similarity of dressing between parents and children in early America. This drawing highlights male clothing in the early centuries of American history. They often wore knee breeches to go to school. Due to poverty, they had to in early America, a fashionable trend in colonial America. However, in fact, the trend of wearing wigs became during the occurrence of syphilis epidemic in European countries and caused people with hair loss. Thereby, many men started to wear wigs to prevent baldness and to make them look more older and attractive. Shortly after that, wigs were available to all types of social classes for men. Men wore a waistcoat. A waistcoat was a tight-fitting vest. It could be made from cotton, silk, linen, or wool. The waistcoat could be plain or decorated with items such as lace, embroidery, and tassels. The coat was worn over the waistcoat. The coat was a long-sleeved, heavier item. There were different length coats. Some were shorter and close-fitting, while others were longer than reaching well past the knees. The cravat was one of the most popular forms of neckwear. Most men wore a cravat. A cravat was a strip of white linen that was wrapped around the neck several times and tied in the front. Breeches were pants that stopped just below the knee. Stockings covered the rest of the leg and feet below the breeches. They were usually white and made from cotton or linen. And these are the references.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Everybody unmute and give them a round of applause. I'm very happy that you had all those references. Yeah, that's one thing I think I would have changed in my original assignment to say, we should have more than one source of information. But thank you, Michelle and Priscilla, and I loved your artwork. Michelle's hand drawing and Priscilla's was digital art, you said? Is that the terminology? Wow, great, really, really beautiful. Yeah, so definitely fashions back then and how they lived were very different. I think the picture that Michelle had of the house was like a well-to-do family, right? Because there were plenty of people who lived a little, simpler, but that was probably a well-to-do family. Have any of you ever visited like some historic place? Like, let me see, there were some historic, like some or like Mount Vernon. Anybody here has visited Mount Vernon, George Washington's estate in Virginia?
I think we went there like on the Bible tour.
Yes. We went.
Yeah.
Some of us went together with the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could see how they, the rooms. Of course, that was a well-to-do person, and the forms of entertainment back then. I remember they had one room at Mount Vernon that said this is where they had their entertainment. And what was their form of entertainment back then? Well, one of their forms of entertainment. Of course, no electricity. So. Anybody want to say instruments, right? Instruments, or well, actually, Ray and Joshua Lynn will be speaking a little bit about how people spend their leisure time. But okay, yeah, thank you so much, Priscilla and Michelle. Washington Church. Okay, thank you. All right, so we will hear actually from Ray and Joshua. Okay, so Joshua, Lynn, you could share your slides first, and then Ray, and it's okay. You could share about everything that's on your slides. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. I just called you a note. Okay.
Wait. Okay, so. Wait, am I sharing screen? I don't really know.
Oh yeah, you just have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, here we are. Good. It's fine.
So,
Thank you for your help.
In early America, people had like a lot of activities and sports to pass the time. They would play many games like rounders and go sledding when it is winter. Even the grown-ups would play games too. Sports had a surprising history, and people play sports to get away from their hardships and entertain themselves. So in early America, sports are invented with an amazing history, why sports were played and what sports were played. So most of the sports played here in early America were brought from England. In England, since people were living close together, they had played a lot of sports. However, early American settlers lived far away from each other, and sports required a team and opponents. People only played sports when someone's factors fell in line with another's in early America. During this time, early America was increasing in wealth, population, and cities. Sports were often played during special occasions like Christmas and Easter. The founding fathers thought that Americans should stay from luxurious things such as sports, and that they should focus on being careful beings. However, George Washington did encourage certain games such as bowling, cricket, shinny, which is field hockey, fives, handball, and a certain form of football.
Sports were played because people wanted to get away from the hardships of life and not deal with them too much. Participating in these sports allowed the soldiers to get exercise and escape from the hardships of war. Recreation then was considered to be entertainment and to take them away from the hard work that they did all day long. The ability to loosen up and enjoy some of life's pleasures made it easier for folks to get along and really get to develop friendships with those in the same area. Not only was recreation for unwinding after a long day's work, but also the opportunity to socialize with friends, maybe even to meet a special person to marry. Men would play football, foot races, quoits, which is similar to horseshoes, and skittles. A game called ninepins was most popular with the men. It is a bowling game that was played outdoors and with only 9 pins. If you think about it, it is like a bowling ball tournament and also to impress women. Men would also like to play violent games like wrestling, cockfighting, and baiting bulls for entertainment. Women would often host parties, inviting their friends to make quotes with them. This was very popular with girls and women. Quotes would be used mostly in the winter when it was cold, as they are very warm. During these parties, there would be lots of talking and storytelling. Storytelling was also a very fun way to pass the time and be used for entertainment. People would tell stories of legends and their ancestry or just make up their own. Many times, stories would be passed down from generation to generation, being told a little differently each time until the story sounded much different than the original. Women like to entertain themselves with friends. Children would play checkers, hopscotch, tag, and leapfrog during early America. This was what they would do during recreation for entertainment. Since programs in the early America came from England, they also brought some sports from England. They would play rounders, a game that is very similar to baseball. They had also played other things like kite flying. Kite flying was very popular in early America. When there was bad weather, girls used or made corn husks or rag dolls to play with and pass the time. However, if it was snowing, there was a lot of snow, about all of the people in early America would go sledding on snow. This is just a few examples of the recreation in early America and how much they got to play and have fun. They would play sports, board games, play with toys, slide, and tell stories and more. Their history is interesting and they played sports for many reasons. All in all, there's a lot about sports and recreation in early life in America.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ray. Joshua. Thank you. Really enjoyed that and learned a lot from that. Okay, Jare, can you share your slides with us?
Okay.
Joshua gave us a very good overview, and Ray's gonna.
It's a bit more detailed, but it's kind of like the same thing.
It's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine because you focused it on two items. Very good.
Okay. I think like.
And you have a lot of nice images.
Oh, is my screen sharing? Wait, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. These are a few more detailed recreational activities that people did in colonial times that are still probably done today. The first sport I wrote about was ninepins. Is a bowling game that probably originated in the continental Europe during the Middle Ages. Many original variations of the game developed. Early German ninepins lanes were made of clay or cinder. Later, a single long plank about 1 foot wide was added on which the ball was rolled. The pins were set up in a square formation with one corner towards the bowler. Playing nine pins has been a favorite American pastime since the early days of colonial America. The history of the game actually dates back quite some time. The game nine pins was most popular with the men. It is a bowling game that was played outdoors and with only 9 pins. The game is played in 120 throws of 4 lanes, 30 throws on each one. The standard diameter of the ball is 160 mm, the weight about 2.85 kilogram. The pins usually have a total weight of 1,730 grams. It has many variation and is still a modern sport. Nine pins later developed into a game called Skittles, but that is way further in time. Skittles, a game of bowling at pins played primarily in Great Britain. Skittles was played for centuries in public houses or clubs, mostly in Western England and the Midlands, Southern Wales, and southeastern Scotland. The rules and method of scoring vary from place to place, and that's the site I used. And the next one I did was storytelling. Storytelling was also a very fun way to pass the time. People would tell stories of legends and their ancestry, or just make up their own. Many times, story would be passed down from generation to generation, being told a little differently each time until the story sounded much different than the original. Many of the stories are now in books at your local library, like tall tales and fantasy, or about figures in the past. A lot of storytelling would happen at quilting parties, where women would invite their friends to make quilts with them, mostly at wintertime where it was really cold. But because of all the people, it would be warm inside the house. More researching shows that it is estimated that the Caviar Cave in France has drawings that date back to 30,000 years. These drawings detail animals such as deer and bison, as well as themes of survival according to Nature Index. Storytelling through oral tradition dates back to different points in history, depending on the culture. These traditions use songs, chant, and epic poetry to tell stories that has been handed down from generation to generation and eventually written and published. The use of technology has shaped the way that we interact with others and how we tell stories. Starting from around the year 1800s, technology has contributed to the creation of photography, motion picture, telephones, radio, TV, digital media, mobile media, and social media. The current most influential form of communication is social media. And those are the sources.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Can we, yeah, thank you so much. Can everybody unmute, please? Just everybody give an applause. Other people unmute. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And it was interesting that it turned out Joshua gave us an overview, and I liked how you had the reason why people played sports. I hadn't asked you to go into that, but I think that was really is meaningful to have that. And then Ray went into detail about storytelling and the 9 pins. So that's great. And yeah, actually storytelling is something very meaningful, simple, and I think in our families it's helpful for parents and grandparents to share accounts of when they were growing up, or so because sometimes we don't really even know what our parents have gone through to come to the situation we are in now, and it's very fascinating. Like my well, of course, if I tell you this, you'll realize just how old I am. But my paternal grandmother was born in, she's no longer living, okay, but she was born in the year 1900. And when I think about it, I think, wow, what did New York look like at that time? And so I encourage you to ask your parents, about how, if they were not born in America, how did they happen to come to America? How was life, you know, for them growing up as children? How about the grandparents, great grandparents? Okay, so, all right. Very, very good. Yeah, another thing I wrote down when Joshua was sharing, you mentioned baiting bulls, and I thought, wow, that sounds very dangerous, baiting bulls. One of the first times when I went to Taiwan after Pasolini and I got married was, well, when we went to Taiwan, we were in the south, and there was a bull actually by the side of the road, and I was so naive. I thought that was so interesting because we don't see bulls by the side of the road here. And so I got out and I stood in front of it and I said, please take my picture. And now I think, wow, that was a pretty foolish thing to do. Okay, and back to actually.
Told the bull, please take this picture.
What's that?
So you told the bull, please stand still. And
well, it did stand still. It was eating grass. Thank God that he didn't charge me something. But anyway, yeah, and then back to actually Priscilla and Michelle's sharing. I just thought about, yeah, the place I was trying to think of was Williamsburg. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Williamsburg, Virginia. They have like houses and offices, buildings set up as, you know, they were back in, it would have been the 1700s, yeah, and gardens. And then also if you go to, of course now with the virus, we're not traveling, but when things open up again, visiting Boston, going on the Freedom Trail, visiting Paul Revere's house, and going to Philadelphia to see where the delegates met to talk about the you know, Declaration of Independence, and you know, it's really fascinating. So it really helps when you go to these places and then you read a book like Carry On, Mr. Bowditch, or you go to Salem. I mean, Salem sounds like a very interesting place. Of course, it's known for its witch trials, but you know, now you know it's known for its shipbuilding and for Nathaniel Bowditch. Okay, all right. So now we have Ryan and Luke are going to share. So yeah, so you could go ahead.
is Luke here?
Is Luke here?
Can we do it tomorrow then? Because like he like you're doing like separate projects and it can't like one can't like go without the other.
Okay. Well, how about this? The last group was going to be Nathan and David and Jacob. So why don't Nathan and David and Jacob go first, and in the meantime, Lucy, could you give Luke's parents a call?
Yeah.
I really would like Luke to be here today. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Auntie Linda,
Yes.
for our project, could you share the slides so we can open the document?
Okay, so I share the slide for you? Okay, sure. All right, let me do that. Okay, let me just get your document up so I know when to turn. Okay, sorry for the delay. Right. Okay, you could go ahead. And you all have a yes, I remember, you all have a piece of the presentation. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
This is representing Pascal's triangle. And the Pascal triangle is a triangle used in mathematics, starting with the 1 at the very top and continued by placing numbers below it in a triangular pattern. Each number directly, the number adds into the number below it. Pascal's triangle was named after French mathematician Blaise Pascal. It was made to be a triangular arrangement of coefficients in the expression of any binomial expression.
Pascal was far from the first to study this triangle. The first version of Pascal's triangle started with Yang Hui in 1261 AD. Chinese mathematician Ji Xiang made a triangle representation for the coefficients in the 11th century. His triangle was further studied and became more popular by Chinese mathematician Yang Hui in the 13th century, for which reason in China it is often called Yang Hui triangle. Pascal was far from the first to study this triangle. Then Persian mathematician Al-Khwarizmi had produced something very similar. As early as the 10th century and Tartigal, Tartaglia's triangle in Italy after the eponymous 16th century. Italian in Italy, Pascal's triangle is referred to Tartaglia's triangle named for the Italian algebraist Nicola Fontana Tartaglia, 1500 to 1577, who published 6 rows of the triangle in 1556. Pascal's triangle has been through many changes in order for it to get to where it is today, and therefore there are different versions of Pascal's triangle.
How Pascal's triangle works is by adding up the two numbers above the n number you're finding in the sequence of the triangle. You may do this in many ways and would be fascinated by the amounts of patterns you could find in this triangular sequence. For instance, each line is also the powers of 11. For example, line 1 is equal to 11 to the 0th power, and line 2 is equal to 11 to the 1th power. When using the power of 11s, make sure to notice that once the numbers start getting big, you squish two numbers together in order to make a two-digit number, and so on. Another pattern found in the Pascal's triangle is when shading in even integers and odd integers. Pascal's triangle turns into a pattern same as what we call the Sierpinski's triangle and tetrahedral numbers. For the second diagonal, the square of the number is the sum of the numbers next to it and below of those.
Blaise Pascal was born on June 19th, 1623 in Clermont-Ferrand, France. He was the only son of Etienne and Antoinette Pascal. When he was young, his mother died and he became close to his two sisters. Pascal was raised in Paris and was homeschooled so he could express himself. When he was growing up, math was a forbidden subject because his father was afraid that he would get too focused on it and would not be able to learn the other subjects. However, that made him more interested in math, and he learned math himself and made up his own terms for everything. In 1648, the Pascal family moved to Rouen, and Pascal published his first book, Essay on Conic Sections. In 1646, Etienne was injured, and after visits from two brothers who believed in Jansium, the family converted. Pascal started making some inventions. This included the Pascaline and the perpetual motion machine. Starting in 1657, Pascal had also begun to write notes that would be posthumously organized and published as Appendices. Pascal continued to struggle spiritually. He wrestled with the difference between the world and God. Then on November 23rd, 1654, Pascal experienced a conversion during a vision of the crucifixion. He recorded the experience on a piece of parchment and carried it with him for the rest of his life, sewed inside his coat. Pascal wrote Les Provinciales, 18 essays regarded as brilliant, and it attacked Jesuits and defended Jansenists' demand for return to morality. Pascal made a strong argument by saying that everyone should live like a Christian, so even if God doesn't exist, there would be no negative side effects except for loss of some luxuries. However, if God does exist, then the person will benefit because they will not die in hell but go to heaven. Pascal had struggled with insomnia and digestive disorder from the time he was a teen. Over the years, Pascal's constant work took a further toll on his already fragile health. Pascal died of a malignant stomach tumor at his sister Gilbert's home in Paris on August 19th, 1662. He was only 39 years old.
Uzama, the triangle is for math and it starts from 1 and goes down by adding the numbers together in form of a triangle. Pascal's triangle was studied by Blaise Pascal. Pascal's triangle is supposed to be a triangle position about the coefficient in the expression of binomial expressions.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody, can everybody open your mic and give them a round of applause? I only hear one set of hands. Okay, thank you so much. Very, very nice. Now, how is this related to our book? Why was this one of the topics? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Because there was math in it.
What's that?
Because there was math in it.
With math in it. Yeah, and because there's mention about, remember, the powers of 2 and just number patterns. So that's why you could say Pascal's triangle is related, because the patterns in it, and then the fact that we mentioned number patterns in this book too. Yeah, so Pascal, he's known for this triangle, although he didn't invent it really or discover it, but I guess with him it became popularized. But yeah, thank you, Jacob and Nathan and David. That was really great. And it's very rich. I don't know if any of you had learned this before, but I'll write it down. What was referred to is the binomial powers. Let me see if I can okay. Has anybody studied this before?
Yes.
Okay, so this is called a binomial. Bi means what? BI means what?
2.
Like bicycle, 2, right? 2 terms. Powers, okay, so we're raising to a power. So if you use Pascal's triangle, the rows of Pascal's triangle, which are very, very easy. Has everybody already seen this triangle before? Come across it in your studies? Has everybody? Yes?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so actually you could put this in your notebook too, because it's very, very interesting and very, very easy to create yourself. So you could put it under your math section. Did we hear anything back from Luke, by the way? Not yet, I guess. Okay. So you're going to put Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my blank paper. Okay, I hope you could see these, but you're putting a 1 at the top and then 1s on the side, like going down the side. And then you're going to create the internal numbers. Well, why doesn't, how about Nathan? How do I get this? How do I get this term in the middle here? Can you tell me? I'm sure you know.
You could add 1, the ones on the side, which equals to 2.
Okay, we got 2 here. And then we're gonna have always in between the 2 upper numbers, we're gonna add a number, right? So what number goes in here? Anybody can answer. Or how about Jacob? What number, so what number goes in here?
2 and then 3.
Okay, so if you haven't seen it before, it's very simple. You're just picking the 2 numbers to the left and the right above, and you add them. And it seems kind of like, you know, silly in a way. You know, why should there be any meaning behind the numbers in the table? Why should there be any pattern? But it turns out that, as Nathan had referred to, there are actually, you know, sums going across are, I think you mentioned, say, maybe powers of 2, and then you have the powers of 11. But relating to the binomial expansion, for those of you who have done this, you know, considered this before, if you have to multiply this out by yourself, if you have to multiply, let's say, x plus y to the third would be x plus y, I'm just writing it down, x plus y times x plus y times x plus y, and then you have to do your, you know, do your multiplication term by term. It's very tedious. It's not like it's undoable or hard, but you could read off the coefficients of your answer right from Pascal's triangle. It's really nice, and I know for those of you who know this already, it's no big deal. But let me see if I could write that down. So x plus y to the third power. Okay, so we're gonna, since we have the third power, we're gonna have x cubed. I'm just gonna write this pattern down. And again, maybe some of you already know this, so I apologize that you already know it. So, oops. All right. Well, it's not. Okay. So if you expand this, that means expand meaning multiply this out. You're going to end up with x to the third plus some coefficient of the x squared y term plus some coefficient of the xy squared term, and the last term is y to the third. And you notice that the coefficients of the x are going, what? 3, 2, 1 is understood here, and then 0. So 3, 2, 1, 0. And the y coefficient, not coefficient, sorry, powers start at y to the 0, y to the first, y squared, and y to the third, right? And then how do you fill in the coefficients? You take it from the row of Pascal's triangle, which is 1, find the row that, it's 1, 3, 3, 1. And so it saves you a lot of work. Later on when you get to this, or if you maybe you have already, you already know that if you want to find the binomial powers and you want to expand it, instead of multiplying out, you know, every set of pair of the x plus y, you could just read off the coefficients from the from Pascal's triangle. Were you aware of that? Anybody aware of that? Maybe some of you are aware of it. But it's, and then there are applications in probability. It's a really amazing triangle. And then to think that the Chinese already so long ago had studied this. And I have a little bit of an anecdote concerning that. I saw the Chinese version of Pascal's triangle in a math book one time. I think it was a geometry book or something, but anyway, and it was funny to me because the person who edited the textbook, well, first of all, they didn't know Pascal's triangle, it should be like this, right? And secondly, the person who edited the textbook didn't know Chinese because it was upside down. So the triangle was upside down and the Chinese characters were upside down. I thought that was kind of funny. But okay, so has Luke joined us?
No, I rechatted his mom, but she didn't reply yet.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, Luke sent me, Luke and Ryan's slides are very interesting. Okay, so we'll leave that for tomorrow. Is that okay, Ryan?
Yeah, because like both of us, they're like connected, so like it'd be like confusing without like the other.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being flexible about it. So which is okay because we had 6 today, and then so tomorrow we'll have 6 or 7 depending on if everybody is presenting. So any comments on anything that you've heard today? Don't be shy. Any comments? Anything that you learned that was new to you or interesting, or everybody knew everything already? I don't think so, right? But it was great, and I that's why I know I say this often, but that's why one reason I really love this book. We learn about the Bible, about human relations, about linguistics. You could say to some extent. I mean, it doesn't go into depth about it, but it starts you off to think about that. Geography, definitely, and the geography of places that I don't think about usually, right, or around the Mediterranean. There's art and biology and math, physics, a lot of history, right? So it's really great. You could actually spend a lot of time learning.
Auntie Linda?
Yes?
I have to go now.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. So we'll hear from you tomorrow. Thank you, George. Okay. I thought I would mention if unless does anybody have anything else or anything to comment on, to share about what you've heard today, or seen today? Okay, well, first of all, before I forget, I just want to make sure, I want to thank everybody who participated today and the time you spent on your projects. I know I was harping on you all through these weeks, but it's often nice to have some focus and you end up doing something, learning about something you would not have thought of focusing on, probably, right? And you maybe learned how to make slides and things like that. And so very good. I didn't ask you to follow the MLA format for the bibliography, but I recommend that you look into it. There's a specific format. For example, the links, you would really want to say when you accessed, that website, or, because there could be changes made on it, on the website. And just the ordering, what kind of, alphabetical ordering you should follow. And so you'll definitely come across that when you're in high school and college. So since we have a few minutes, I thought I would mention, William spoke about, actually, no, Joy's Bible verse was spoken in Chinese. So besides the American Elijah Coleman Bridgman, there's another famous missionary. Does anybody know another famous missionary to China?
Hudson Taylor.
Hudson Taylor, yes. I'm sorry, who answered that for me? Joy, oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, yeah. So if your parents became Christians in China, it might have, well, I guess we could say very likely it was as a result of Hudson Taylor's work. And if you read his biography, it's really wonderful. And I encourage you to read biographies of the people that we have mentioned, like the mathematicians who were believers, like Isaac Newton and Matthew Morey, the oceanographer, because they're not just what they accomplished. We often just have this name and then what they accomplished or a quote from them. But actually, when you read about their lives, it's so inspiring because you realize they're human beings too, just like Mr. Bowditch here. But we can learn from their failures and we can learn from their so-called successes. But you know what? Whenever we do our best, that is a success. We never need to or should compare ourselves with others. It's your own best. And I remember actually that was what a music school was. One of the faculty was saying, who was speaking. She said, when you go into a competition, you're not trying to beat out some other musician. You're going there to play your best, play beautifully. And when you do your best and you prepare according to your best ability, you already gained, and very often when you do your best, you will have great achievement. But whatever, prize you get, actually there have been competitions definitely that have been very unfair, especially in the music world. Who says this one is better than that one? But if you prepare your best, you will have benefited and you will have gained. So anyway, let's see, how did I get on this topic? But yeah, so Hudson Taylor was a great, I was saying I read his biography. When he was young, he had a period of doubt, and his mother was praying very, very fervently for him. And one day he was just struck that, with the reality of who God is. And he went to medical school, became a medical missionary. And he was well known for dressing like the native Chinese. And he even, maybe Joy knows this because you're familiar with the missionary from China. He even had to put his hair into pigtail, which was popular at that time, right? Yeah, you're not. So if you look at pictures of Hudson Taylor, you say, what is this guy wearing and why is his hair like that? But actually, as a result of that, the native Chinese at the time were more open to speak to him because they felt this was not a Western religion. There's so much you could say about Hudson Taylor, but I just wanted to mention him. And also I wanted to mention the organization called Wycliffe Bible Translators, since we talked about the Bible verse John 3:16 in a few different languages. And that's an organization. If some of you have an interest in linguistics, you might even think about eventually working for them. They have a goal of by 2025 translating, I think it was, I wrote it down, to see Bible translation begun in every language. Okay, now of course, what is every language? It's it's debatable because a lot of dialects. But so we should definitely pray for the Wycliffe Bible translators. I mean, our faith, if we have the Bible, when we have the Bible, it's not that if a person does not have the Bible, they cannot become a Christian. But how enriched our lives are when we can read God's word directly. And for those of you who've been following the Bible devotions, it's really wonderful.